Good day and God bless you, and welcome to the Bible reading in chronological order. Just such a privilege once again to be sharing this with you and to share the overview and the reading of God's Word together. I pray that it would be a blessing to each of you as you listen and as we draw nearer to the Lord in and through His Word. Today we're still busy in the book of Judges, and actually we're going to close out the book of Judges today. We're going to be going through chapters 19, 20, and 21. So let's get straight into it. Chapter 19 deals with one of the most horrific stories that we can find within the Word of God. This is a story of a Levite who has a concubine, and she has an affair with someone else outside of the marriage, and then she goes to her father's house, and this Levite goes then to go and take her back from her father's house. But there are so many tragic details to the story. But we can see that the Israelites no longer look like the Israelites. They no longer bear the standard of the Lord. In fact, through the story, you can see that they actually resemble Sodom and Gomorrah and those nations. The children of Israel are so detached from the picture that the Lord had for them, had planned for them. They're so far detached from the law that was given to them through Moses, through the leading of Joshua. It's just unbelievable. And I don't want to get into too much of the details. It's quite descriptive and very graphic. So please, as you go through it, you'd sort of have to try and hold your imagination back from imagining what's going on in the story to some extent. And yet this is a part of the history of mankind, and it's a part of the history of the Israelites as well. And so it is important that we understand and we know this. But for me personally, and I've put this in there, that personally the worst part of this passage is that the Levite and his concubine refused to go into the land of the pagan nations because they were afraid for their lives and what would happen to them in case one of the pagan nations were to do evil to them or do harm to them. And so they go into the land of Benjamin, and then we see that these Benjamites, they want to sodomize the Levite. And then the same thing that Lot does, when the angels visit him, and he says, no, take my daughters instead. The man that is hosting this Levite and his concubine, they actually say, why don't you take the concubine and take his daughter, all of these things, and protects the Levite. But we see then what they do to this concubine, and it's just horrible. Please understand that this is not what the Lord wanted for the Israelites. We saw in the story of Micah yesterday how he was worshiping the Lord to some extent, but also had the other gods and all of these things. It's just the nation of Israel had just come into such disrepute. They are so far from where they should be. It's actually unbelievable. Then we get to chapter 20 and 21, and I've just summed this all up into one basic theme, and that was the beginning of the civil war in Israel. But we see that the Levite then, he explains what happened to the assembly of Israel, and the assembly give their decree and they declare war against the Benjamites. This was necessary. The Benjamites had just gone so far. This act that they performed against the concubine, that was just absolutely so putrid, and it deserved the punishment that they got to this regard. But Benjamin is slain and destroyed, except for 600 men that escape. And the children of Israel bewail the desolation of Benjamin now. They saying, well, what's going to happen to the inheritance of Benjamin? And so the elders then consult and find out how they will find wives for the men that survived in order to keep Benjamin and preserve their inheritance and keep them alive. But this basically is the declaration of the civil war, or the explanation of the civil war in Israel, how they rose up against the Benjamites and went to kill them. So that's basically these two chapters in a nutshell. So now we've completed the book of Judges, but I just want to go through very quickly a quick summary on the book, just to go through the judges that judged Israel. We saw Othniel, who judged for 40 years. We see Ehud, who when he ruled Israel was at peace for 80 years. We see Shamgar, whose time in charge was not recorded. Then we see Deborah and Barak. Barak actually just was the captain of the guard, if you can say, or captain of the armies, and Deborah was the judge, but she ruled for 40 years. We see Gideon, who ruled for 40 years, Tola, who ruled for 23 years, Jair, who ruled for 22 years, Jephthah, who ruled for 6 years, Ibzan, who ruled for 7 years, Elon, who ruled for 10 years, Abdon, who ruled for 8 years, and then Samson, who ruled for 20 years. But if you look at the caliber of the judges, it just seemed to just degrade along the way. And it just gets to a point where Samson, who is called a Nazarite from the womb, he's just so far from the picture of what we think a holy man or a man separated unto God should be. Promiscuous and just, all of the things that he wasn't supposed to do, you can see Samson do it to some regard. But what is this saying? Because we see often in the book of Judges that even though these men were so far from what they should have been, even though the nation of Israel is so far from what they should be, you see that phrase comes, and the Lord came over them, and the Spirit of the Lord came over them, and the Lord worked through them, and the Lord wrought victories in the land. And you see that and you think, but why, Lord? Why are you preserving these people that have gone so far astray? We must understand that the mercy of the Lord, He loves us, yes. Yes, He loves us. But the mercy of the Lord is to preserve His promise here. The Lord is honoring His own word, that He made a covenant with Abraham, that his children, through Abraham's seed will all the nations of the earth be blessed. And so the Lord is honoring His own word. So even though Israel has fallen into such evil and such idolatry and such they've started resembling Sodom even to this regard, yet the Lord is preserving them, and He is going to bring them out of that. Now we see that in the covenant that the Lord made with Abraham, He talks about the throne that would be set up. He talks about the kings that would come through there. But we see that the last verse in the book of Judges, it says, in those days there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. And this is important to remember, because when the Lord promises Abraham and talks to Abraham, He talks about the kings that would come through there. And this verse then, through all of this 300 some odd years that Israel are ruled by the judges, the Lord is now setting up the scene for a king to be born in Israel. And even though that king would not be the Messiah yet, but that would set up the throne for the Messiah. Now, we see that straight after the book of Judges, it's not going to deal with Saul's family or Saul's heritage. It is going immediately into David's heritage. We see the book of Ruth, and then it's going to talk about the lineage that goes to David. And that is very important that we understand that. A man of the tribe of Judah, because the king had to come from the line of Judah. So we see that, and that's important that we understand that. So when we're going into the next book, when we get to the book of Ruth tomorrow, we're going to see the setting up, as it were, of the line of David, the king of Israel. And we're going to see the dynasty then that would come, that would follow. And even though those kings were not all good kings, and we're going to go through the book of Kings, we're going to go through the book of Chronicles, we're going to see all of these things. Very important to note that the Lord is setting up something so that through that line, all the nations of the earth can be blessed. I pray that you would enjoy the reading today, even though it is one of the most difficult passages that you're going to be going through right now in terms of knowing the history of the Israelites. But understand that even though this is the case right now, it is now setting up the scene for a king to be born in Israel. And then we're going to see how the Lord starts working with the nation of Israel in a way where the children of Israel are actually not as bad as what they have been so far with the judges. But I pray that the Lord would bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you. May he give you peace. God bless you all.
Chapter 19. And it came to pass in those days, when there was no king in Israel, that there was a certain Levite sojourning on the side of Mount Ephraim, who took to him a concubine out of Bethlehem, Judah. And his concubine played the whore against him, and went away from him unto her father's house to Bethlehem, Judah, and was there 4 whole months. And her husband arose, and went after her to speak friendly unto her, and to bring her again, having his servant with him, and a couple of asses. And she brought him into her father's house, and when the father of the damsel saw him, he rejoiced to meet him. And his father-in-law, the damsel's father, retained him, and he abode with him 3 days. So they did eat and drink, and lodged there. And it came to pass on the 4th day, when they arose early in the morning, that he rose up to depart. And the damsel's father said unto his son-in-law,
Comfort thine heart with a morsel of bread, and afterward go your way.
And they sat down, and did eat and drink both of them together. For the damsel's father had said unto the man,
Be content, I pray thee, and tarry all night, and let thine heart be merry.
And when the man rose up to depart, his father-in-law urged him, therefore he lodged there again. And he arose early in the morning on the 5th day to depart, and the damsel's father said,
Comfort thine heart, I pray thee.
And they tarried until afternoon, and they did eat both of them. And when the man rose up to depart, he and his concubine and his servant, his father-in-law, the damsel's father, said unto him,
Behold, now the day draweth toward evening. I pray you, tarry all night. Behold, the day groweth to an end. Lodge here, that thine heart may be merry, and tomorrow get you early on your way, that thou mayest go home.
But the man would not tarry that night, but he rose up and departed, and came over against Jebus, which is Jerusalem. And there were with him 2 asses saddled. His concubine also was with him. And when they were by Jebus, the day was far spent. And the servant said unto his master,
Come, I pray thee, and let us turn in into the city of the Jebusites, and lodge in it.
And his master said unto him,
We will not turn aside hither into the city of a stranger, that is not of the children of Israel. We will pass over to Gibeah.
And he said unto his servant,
Come, and let us draw near to one of these places, to lodge all night in Gibeah, or in Ramah.
And they passed on, and went their way. And the sun went down upon them when they were by Gibeah, which belongeth to Benjamin. And they turned aside thither to go in and to lodge in Gibeah. And when he went in, he sat him down in a street of the city, for there was no man that took them into his house to lodging. And behold, there came an old man from his work out of the field at even, which was also of Mount Ephraim, and he sojourned in Gibeah, for the men of the place were Benjamites. And when he had lifted up his eyes, he saw a wayfaring man in the street of the city. And the old man said,
Whither goest thou? And whence comest thou?
And he said unto him,
We are passing from Bethlehem, Judah, toward the side of Mount Ephraim. From thence am I. And I went to Bethlehem, Judah, but I am now going to the house of the Lord. And there is no man that receiveth me to house. Yet there is both straw and provender for our asses. And there is bread and wine also for me, and for thy handmaid, and for the young man which is with thy servants. There is no want of anything.
And the old man said,
Peace be with thee. Howsoever, let all thy wants lie upon me. Only lodge not in the street.
So he brought him into his house, and gave provender unto the asses. And they washed their feet, and they did eat and drink. Now as they were making their hearts merry, behold, the men of the city, certain sons of Belial, beset the house round about, and beat at the door, and spake to the master of the house, the old man, saying,
Bring forth the man that came into thine house, that we may know him.
And the man, the master of the house, went out unto them, and said unto them,
Nay, my brethren, nay, I pray you, do not so wickedly. Seeing that this man is come into mine house, do not this folly. Behold, here is my daughter, a maiden, and his concubine. Them I will bring out now, and humble ye them, and do with them what seemeth good unto you. But unto this man, do not so vile a thing.
But the men would not hearken to him. So the man took his concubine, and brought her forth unto them. And they knew her, and abused her all the night until the morning. And when the day began to spring, they let her go. Then came the woman in the dawning of the day, and fell down at the door of the man's house where her lord was, till it was light. And her lord rose up in the morning, and opened the doors of the house, and went out to go his way. And behold, the woman his concubine was fallen down at the door of the house, and her hands were upon the threshold. And he said unto her,
Up, and let us be going.
But none answered. Then the man took her up upon an ass, and the man rose up, and gat him unto his place. And when he was come into his house, he took a knife, and laid hold on his concubine, and divided her, together with her bones, into 12 pieces, and sent her into all the coasts of Israel. And it was so that all that saw it said, there was no such deed done nor seen from the day that the children of Israel came up out of the land of Egypt unto this day. Consider of it, take advice, and speak your minds. To 20. Then all the children of Israel went out, and the congregation was gathered together as one man, from Dan even to Beersheba, with the land of Gilead, unto the Lord in Mizpeh. And the chief of all the people, even of all the tribes of Israel, presented themselves in the assembly of the people of God, 400,000 footmen that drew sword. Now the children of Benjamin heard that the children of Israel were gone up to Mizpeh. Then said the children of Israel,
Tell us, how was this wickedness?
And the Levite, the husband of the woman that was slain, answered and said,
I came into Gibeah that belongeth to Benjamin, I and my concubine, to lodge. And the men of Gibeah rose against me, and beset the house round about upon me by night, and thought to have slain me. And my concubine have they forced, that she is dead. And I took my concubine, and cut her in pieces, and sent her throughout all the country of the inheritance of Israel. For they have committed lewdness and folly in Israel. Behold, ye are all children of Israel. Give here your advice and counsel.
And all the people arose as one man, saying,
We will not any of us go to his tent, neither will we any of us turn into his house. But now this shall be the thing which we will do to Gibeah. We will go up by lot against it, and we will take 10 men of 100 throughout all the tribes of Israel, and 100 of 1,000, and 1,000 out of 10,000, to fetch victual for the people, that they may do when they come to Gibeah of Benjamin, according to all the folly that they have wrought in Israel.
So all the men of Israel were gathered against the city, knit together as one man. And the tribes of Israel sent men through all the tribe of Benjamin, saying,
What wickedness is this that is done among you? Now therefore deliver us the men, the children of Belial, which are in Gibeah, that we may put them to death, and put away evil from Israel.
But the children of Benjamin would not hearken to the voice of their brethren, the children of Israel. But the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together out of the cities unto Gibeah, to go out to battle against the children of Israel. And the children of Benjamin were numbered at that time out of the cities 26,000 men that drew sword, beside the inhabitants of Gibeah, which were numbered 700 chosen men. Among all this people there were 700 chosen men left-handed. Every one could sling stones at an hairbreadth and not miss. And the men of Israel, beside Benjamin, were numbered 400,000 men that drew sword. All these were men of war. And the children of Israel arose and went up to the house of God, and asked counsel of God, and said,
Which of us shall go up first to the battle against the children of Benjamin?
And the Lord said,
Judah shall go up first.
And the children of Israel rose up in the morning, and encamped against Gibeah. And the men of Israel went out to battle against Benjamin, and the men of Israel put themselves in array to fight against them at Gibeah. And the children of Benjamin came forth out of Gibeah, and destroyed down to the ground of the Israelites that day 22,000 men. And the people, the men of Israel, encouraged themselves, and set their battle again in array, in the place where they put themselves in array the first day. And the children of Israel went up and wept before the Lord until even, and asked counsel of the Lord, saying,
Shall I go up again to battle against the children of Benjamin, my brother?
And the Lord said,
Go up against him.
And the children of Israel came near against the children of Benjamin the second day. And Benjamin went forth against them out of Gibeah the second day, and destroyed down to the ground of the children of Israel again 18,000 men. All these drew the sword. Then all the children of Israel and all the people went up and came unto the house of God, and wept, and sat there before the Lord, and fasted that day until even, and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord. And the children of Israel inquired of the Lord, for the ark of the covenant of God was there in those days. And Phinehas the son of Eleazar the son of Aaron stood before it in those days, saying,
Shall I yet again go out to battle against the children of Benjamin, my brother, or shall I cease?
And the Lord said,
Go up, for tomorrow I will deliver them into thine hand.
And Israel set liers in wait round about Gibeah. And the children of Israel went up against the children of Benjamin on the third day, and put themselves in array against Gibeah as at other times. And the children of Benjamin went out against the people, and were drawn away from the city. And they began to smite of the people, and kill as at other times in the highways, of which one goeth up to the house of God, and the other to Gibeah in the field, about 30 men of Israel. And the children of Benjamin said,
They are smitten down before us, as at the first.
But the children of Israel said,
Let us flee and draw them from the city unto the highways.
And all the men of Israel rose up out of their place, and put themselves in array at Baal Tamar. And the liers in wait of Israel came forth out of their places, even out of the meadows of Gibeah. And there came against Gibeah 10,000 chosen men out of all Israel, and the battle was sore. But they knew not that evil was near them. The Lord smote Benjamin before Israel, and the children of Israel destroyed of the Benjamites that day 25,000 and 100 men. All these drew the sword. So the children of Benjamin saw that they were smitten, for the men of Israel gave place to the Benjamites, because they trusted unto the liers in wait which they had set beside Gibeah. And the liers in wait hasted and rushed upon Gibeah, and the liers in wait drew themselves along and smote all the city with the edge of the sword. Now there was an appointed sign between the men of Israel and the liers in wait, that they should make a great flame with smoke rise up out of the city. And when the men of Israel retired in the battle, Benjamin began to smite and kill of the men of Israel about 30 persons. For they said, Surely they are smitten down before us as in the first battle. But when the flame began to arise up out of the city with a pillar of smoke, the Benjamites looked behind them, and behold, the flame of the city ascended up to heaven. And when the men of Israel turned again, the men of Benjamin were amazed, for they saw that evil was come upon them. Therefore they turned their backs before the men of Israel unto the way of the wilderness. But the battle overtook them, and them which came out of the cities they destroyed in the midst of them. Thus they enclosed the Benjamites round about, and chased them, and trode them down with ease over against Gibeah toward the sunrising. And there fell of Benjamin 18,000 men. All these were men of valor. And they turned and fled toward the wilderness unto the rock of Rimmon, and they gleaned of them in the highways 5,000 men, and pursued hard after them unto Gidom, and slew 2,000 men of them. So that all which fell that day of Benjamin were 25,000 men that drew the sword. All these were men of valor. But 600 men turned and fled to the wilderness unto the rock Rimmon, and abode in the rock Rimmon 4 months. And the men of Israel turned again upon the children of Benjamin, and smote them with the edge of the sword, as well the men of every city as the beast, and all that came to hand. Also they set on fire all the cities that they came to. Chapter 21. Now the men of Israel had sworn in Mizpeh, saying,
There shall not any of us give his daughter unto Benjamin to wife.
And the people came to the house of God, and abode there till even before God, and lifted up their voices, and wept sore, and said,
O Lord God of Israel, why is this come to pass in Israel, that there should be today one tribe lacking in Israel?
And it came to pass on the morrow, that the people rose early, and built there an altar, and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. And the children of Israel said,
Who is there among all the tribes of Israel that came not up with the congregation unto the Lord?
For they had made a great oath concerning him that came not up to the Lord to Mizpeh, saying,
He shall surely be put to death.
And the children of Israel repented them for Benjamin their brother, and said,
There is one tribe cut off from Israel this day. How shall we do for wives for them that remain, seeing we have sworn by the Lord that we will not give them of our daughters to wives?
And they said,
What one is there of the tribes of Israel that came not up to Mizpah to the Lord?
And behold, there came not to the camp from Jabesh Gilead to the assembly. For the people were numbered, and behold, there were none of the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead there. And the congregation sent thither 12,000 men of the valiantest, and commanded them, saying,
Go and smite the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead with the edge of the sword, with the women and the children. And this is the thing that ye shall do. Ye shall utterly destroy every male and every woman that hath lain by man.
And they found among the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead 400 young virgins that had known no man by lying with any male. And they brought them unto the camp to Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan. And the whole congregation sent some to speak to the children of Benjamin that were in the rock Rimmon, and to call peaceably unto them. And Benjamin came again at that time. And they gave them wives which they had saved alive of the women of Jabesh Gilead, and yet so they sufficed them not. And the people repented them for Benjamin, because that the Lord had made a breach in the tribes of Israel. Then the elders of the congregation said,
How shall we do for wives for them that remain, seeing the women are destroyed out of Benjamin?
And they said,
There must be an inheritance for them that be escaped of Benjamin, that a tribe be not destroyed out of Israel.
Howbeit we may not give them wives of our daughters, for the children of Israel have sworn, saying, Cursed be he that giveth a wife to Benjamin.
Then they said,
Behold, there is a feast of the Lord in Shiloh, yearly in a place which is on the north side of Bethel, on the east side of the highway that goeth up from Bethel to Shechem, and on the south of Lebonah.
Therefore they commanded the children of Benjamin, saying,
Go and lie in wait in the vineyards, and see and behold, if the daughters of Shiloh come out to dance in dances, Then come ye out of the vineyards, and get you every man his wife of the daughters of Shiloh, and go to the land of Benjamin. And it shall be, when their fathers or their brethren come unto us to complain, that we will say unto them, Be favorable unto them for our sakes, because we reserved not to each man his wife in the war. For ye did not give unto them at this time, that ye should be guilty.
And the children of Benjamin did so, and took them wives, according to their number, of them that danced, whom they caught. And they went and returned unto their inheritance, and repaired the cities, and dwelt in them. And the children of Israel departed thence at that time, every man to his tribe and to his family. And they went out from thence, every man to his inheritance. In those days there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. The end of the book of Judges.